What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are checking out the Kirk Cousins Atlanta Falcons rebuild that just dropped. But to recap, I wasn't even going to make it because nothing crazy happened today. We got Zach Bond, the Eagles. Got Zach Bond. They got Devontae Parker for like $1 million. Kind of is what it is. We got Matt Hennessy, who I think has a star dev in Madden. Depth guard. Formerly played at Temple. It's just like, kind of, let's just wait and see. But then an hour ago, the dog is back. My favorite defensive back since Malcolm Jenkins that we've had on this team. And that's saying something because they went out and got a Canadian last year in Sidney Brown who looked somewhat promising, brought a lot of juice, had that 99-yard pick six or whatever it was. But my favorite player, full-on Gator bias, was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And I was upset that we did not retain him last season. He never should have left the building. And unlike some fans in this fan base that pretty much just roasted him for leaving, I very visibly was tweeting at his agents, calling them idiots for fumbling the bag and for him not staying in Philadelphia and end up signing like a one-year prove-it deal that wasn't even a lot of money with the Detroit Lions coming off a season where he had, 6-7 picks. That was my gripe. But I still wished him well. I was bummed out when he got hurt for the Detroit Lions. Because in my mind, all along, I was like, I hope he balls up for Detroit, and then we could take another swing and bring him back in the offseason, because he's only there for 1 year. And he is back on a 3-year deal worth up to $33 million. We're still waiting the guaranteed money. I was kind of waiting over the last hour just to see if that number came out, because that's really what's important. Clearly, this was leaked by an agent that idiot agents want to at least make it seem like the best deal possible. But the reality is, what is the guaranteed number? How does that compare to, say, Xavier McKinney? Because a lot of reports say Xavier McKinney came down to the Philadelphia Eagles or the Green Bay Packers, and you want to see that comparison. But I think ultimately, this at least reads to me like it's probably going to be a very reasonable deal. I would be surprised if this is over $10 million a year, even though, obviously math 11. I would say, the cap hit and stuff like that, I don't think this is going to be substantial. I don't think it's going to be big enough that Philly's not going to still be in on Justin Simmons, for example, if they really want to double up. And Vic Fangio saying we need two safeties here on top of Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship. And maybe they're going to view the wording there. Safety nickel, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. By moving on from Avonte Maddox, is Cjgj going to go in the slot? Are you going to have a little bit of Sidney Brown in the slot when he gets back healthy? And then there you can have, Ed Reed Blankenship and Justin Simmons on the back end there. It's still a lot in play. I don't think this is a substantial hit to what Philadelphia can do going forward. But the biggest thing that we could just say is the dog is back. This defense, the number one thing in difference between the defense the Super Bowl year, ended up losing, and the defense last year is we did not have the biggest dog in the yard. And that's Cjgj. He is the perfect Philadelphia Eagle. He's everything the fans want. And we essentially picked James Bradberry over him. And there's no real fault to that, honestly. At the end of the day, James Bradberry was coming off an all-pro year, and no one could have projected the fall-off. If anyone is, they're an idiot. They're just cap, as the kids say. Bringing back James Bradberry made a lot of sense as an all-pro. Even if there was a chance there was going to be some regression. The only problem I had was just, because of how it ended with the Super Bowl, was there value in just letting James Bradberry get a clean start and then therefore not bringing him in? Maybe we'd prioritize a corner over Nolan Smith with that pick, the second pick there in the first round last year, or just something like that. But ultimately, no, I was not, and 90% of people weren't like, oh my God, we're idiots for bringing back Bradberry. It was just one of those things, you couldn't keep everybody. But at the end of the day, it still was frustrating letting a guy that brings so much more than just the interception numbers to the defensive side of the ball. My conspiracy theory of when did everything start to change? It started at the Super Bowl where they didn't come out to Dreams and Nightmares. That was a bad decision, a bad mentality decision. They literally, and I'm a hip hop fan. It's probably my favorite genre. They came out to the worst song I've ever heard, and it had brought no juice, zero juice. They come out to Dreams and Nightmares. I think that Super Bowl is different. And then you turn that into not prioritizing a dog for a head coach that has the dumbest repeated cliche that we need dogs, dog mentality, this and that. Gets clowned on the McAfee show. If that is truly, what you preach, we did not practice that by not making sure Cjgj was a Philadelphia Eagle last year. Obviously, he got hurt with Detroit. You can't assume that, he would have still got hurt if he was in Philadelphia. Whatever. It could have happened. but he never should have left the building. And I'm glad somehow, some way, we've been able to right a wrong here. Really want to see the guarantee, but that is great business for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he kind of left New Orleans because he didn't want to play nickel. So I don't know if it's a reality that he signed this deal to come here and play nickel. I still think you use that versatility. You can have him play nickel sometimes, but I'm going to assume, unless another signing comes in, it's going to be Reed Blankenship and Cjgj back there at safety. And then you have Sidney Brown, who's going to have to catch back up to speed after the bad injury. You know, what's his timetable? Is he going to be ready for week 1? Because obviously he's a Canadian. And I think most Eagle fans, even though there was a learning curve with Sidney Brown last year, we're bullish on Sidney Brown. We see the upside. We see there's a playmaker there. And I mean, if he has to start his way up and just be a boss on special teams and grind up like Reed Blankenship did, so be it. Or if there's some mix of Cjgj and Sidney Brown as like the nickel, because I think I have a feeling for whatever reason. I have no idea, honestly. I don't know how Vic Fangio is. I have no idea how the secondary's going to line up. Because I think, like, Bradbury, you can't put him on the outside again. And he was somewhat serviceable in the slot, wasn't as exposed in the slot. And then you got Isaiah Rodgers, who's built like a slot corner, but probably I feel like they want to put him on the outside. But that's also a gamble because he's a mismatch, because he's not the biggest. I have no idea. It's a good problem somewhat to have, because there is a lot of guys that I think could contribute on this defense in the secondary that was so bad last year. And then you got Keely Ringo. Like, does he take a jump up? There were some flashes last year that he could be a successor to Darius Slay. But obviously, you don't need to throw him to the fire anymore. You could still have that slow burn of him being an understudy to Slay. And then when it's actually time to move on from Darius, we feel pretty good that, like, Ringo has earned an opportunity to start on the outside. But I think it's a good problem to have. And all reports say Justin Simmons. Let me just go check the notifications real quick, because this is how we found out Saquon Barkley last time. We know the Eagles end up moving pretty quickly, as there was actually a hilarious... Can I get that up here? We're just going to showcase that tweet there by Skip Bayless. What does that mean for Philadelphia? Let's get a little dark mode on here. Lear are the best remaining free agents. I'm going to say Philly probably has $15 to $20 million of cap room on top of whatever they're about to clear when and if a Son Riddick trade and or a Josh Sweat trade happens. I think we still got some playing around. So where do the Philadelphia Eagles still need to address? One is backup quarterback, and I talked about Tyler Huntley before. I think he would be a very decent backup quarterback, but ultimately, I don't really look like it's going to be that range, $5-6 million. I don't think we have the luxury of paying that. I saw enough out of Tanner McKee last year in the preseason say, yep, that guy looks like a solid backup quarterback. He was arguably, this is not even by, like a top 5 preseason quarterback last year as a rookie. That's all you could ask for. Look impressive during the preseason. You're playing with the backups. You could assume that you at least be able to play at that somewhat high level with the starters. I think we're fine at backup quarterback, but if we do want to look on the open market, I mean, because I've seen people saying, are the Eagles going to trade for Justin Fields and all this QB factory? And I can't say it's QB factory nonsense because it's kind of what we've done, but I'd be shocked if that happened. But if we do want to explore backup, Tyler Huntley obviously would fit in really nicely behind Jalen Hurts. We're good at running back, obviously handling business there, getting Saquon Barkley, which, I mean, I got to get Jason Kelsey jersey next, but there's a shot that a Saquon Barkley might be right under Kelsey for the jersey that I need, because I got A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Brian Dawkins. It got to be Kelsey, but Saquon, he's making it tough. You look at the wide receivers, we brought in, doesn't even make the list. We brought in Devontae Parker. Sure, I mean, he's going to fill out Julio. It's not even really worth noting that much, because we do need a slot wide receiver. And again, like I said at the very top, I would love to go after a Ricky Pearsall, a Ladd McConkey, a Malachi Corley, second round, third round, somewhere in that range, just to get that long-term slot. But having someone that just can be that veteran Julio Jones, if there's an injury bug, you can play a week or two in Devontae Parker, I'm fine. Because I remember he actually cooked us last time we played the Dolphins. So, I mean, whatever. Just bringing that. That's not even really worth noting a whole lot. We're pretty good at tight end, offensive tackle. We got on the offensive line there, and we brought in dude from Temple, formerly Matt Hennessy. Again, all I know a little bit. I remember he did pretty good RAS score coming out of Temple, local guy. And hey, if Jeff Stoutland gives you the thumbs up, like, hey, I think I can work with this kid. I think I can get more out of this kid. You got to give the thumbs up. Even though I still think, Big V's out there. You got Mekhi Beck. I'm just saying, like, looking at all the available ones. I don't know how the money lines up, but if there's any player that I would love to see go to Jeff Stoutland U, it would be seeing if he could take a swing at Mekhi Becton, who has immense talent, has just never been able to put it all together. We saw some previews of that big ticket as a rookie for the New York Jets. I think if there's a buy low entry to Stoutland U, I would love to find a way to get Mekhi Becton on the roster. I don't know. Again, he might be arrogant in his skills that he wants to be a starter, but that is someone I would love to see Jeff Stoutland get to work with no pressure of starting. You're going to be a swing tackle. You're going to be maybe potentially, he's only 25, so like a Lane Johnson successor, potentially, however that works out. But that would be pretty cool. Not obviously a need. Then you go to the defense. Fletch retired. I talked about T.R. Tart really is the only interior D-line that I thought would be interesting. He's coming off a down year, but 2 years ago was really solid for the Tennessee Titans. But I think we probably look towards the draft at this point. Honestly, I think if we're going to make a move to the D-line, it might be trying to get ahead of an extension on Milton Williams. You look at the edge work. Well, we brought in Bryce Huff. Talked about that yesterday. Good business. I love seeing another Florida Gator, John Grenard, get paid. Danielle Hunter going to Houston. Hey, I think I speak for most Eagle fans. As long as they're not playing us, we're probably, unless like there's something you hate about the Texans. The fact that like they have more hype, I think, than Dallas, which is a win. They got D'Amico, who I think universally loved by the Eagles. I do think if you look at the landscape of the AFC, you don't have a second team, but you always kind of like, there's, what I'm saying? You do, but you don't. I think we all should move on from Andy Reid. He's got enough, and we just put all that praise and love on the Texans. Like, they're, as a neutral, the team I'm cheering for in the AFC, and they are building a hell of a squad. But we got Bryce Huff. We brought back BG, and we're probably done, I think, for bringing in pass rushers. If we are going to look elsewhere, especially after we trade or if whatever happens with Hassan Riddick and Josh Sweat, I think maybe getting more of a run defender. Like, I don't think Zach Bond. I think he's more going to be like a rotational guy. I think you could make the argument we could need a run defender. Gross Matos was a good run defender. He ended up going to the 49ers. Again, not super familiar, at least in terms of the run defense of the guys that are still available. But I think just in terms of looking at the Eagles' edge rush, probably could get someone that's more established against the run. The big question, though, even more so than safety, we'll kind of look here at corner and safety real quick. You look at the available safeties. The question is still, like, are we going to make a play for Justin Simmons? I think when he got released, everyone just assumed there's going to be a connection there with Vic Fangio, played his best football under Vic Fangio. There's reports that Philadelphia was interested in trading for Justin Simmons when we had to pivot to Kevin Byard, because probably the asking price was so high. Maybe Howie Rose, from being a smart GM, was like, they're going to release him anyway. We can get a free swing. I still wouldn't put it past us bringing him in, right? Because especially if you just, even though it might not be what he wants, if Cjgj and the Eagles are kind of like, well, we're going to put him in the slot, they could still justify getting Justin Simmons and making it work financially. So I wouldn't put that past him. I still think that would make some sense for the Philadelphia Eagles. But the two big spots left are clearly corner and linebacker. And looking at the corner and linebacker markets, it is drying up pretty quick. Looking at the available corner, Rock Ya-Sin, kind of a dog. Temple Tough, just a guy that's just never really been able to make it work. Steven Nelson was awesome here in Philly for a year. But I don't think I think he was like on a podcast with Slade. And it was like, I don't like Philly. So, Cjgj also said that shit. Kendall Fuller was actually someone that I saw a couple of sites linking to the Eagles. Primarily, really good in zone coverage. Could fit the scheme a little bit. The big dog still is L'Jarius Sneed, as it looks like the Chiefs are still going for like a tag and trade type scenario. Even though I believe Patrick Mahomes just restructured his contract to free up $20 million, which, if I'm the Chiefs, I would not let L'Jarius Sneed, a homegrown player like that, leave the building. I think if Philly wants to improve corner, it is going to have to be during the draft. And the question would be what corner potentially could fall there to 22 if we even are considering drafting a corner at 22. Because I'm going to say Terrion Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell are probably going to be, almost for sure going to be gone unless we trade up. Nate Wiggins, especially after running that 4.28, I'd be shocked if he's still there. So it's going to be like, how do you feel about Cooper DeJean? How do you feel about Kool-Aid McKinstry at 22? Wait, see. But I'm not seeing a lot of ways Philly right now can get a lot better at corner, barring, again, like a shock trade. Unless, there's a way that we could package picks and Josh Sweat or picks and Hassan Reddick And I mean, I'm not saying they're going to trade him. I don't know why they would, but Pat Surtain in Denver is a big name just because they're kind of fire sailing. Like, barring something like that, I'm not too sure how Philly solidifies their corner room on the open market right now. And the same kind of pivots to the linebacker. The linebackers are drying up. Patrick Queen, I've never really wanted or mocked or linked him with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm terrified that he is a guy, solid player, but looked a lot better than what he was because he played next to Roquan Smith. Because I remember before Roquan Smith went to Baltimore, a lot of fans were saying Patrick Queen's a bust, not living up to the hype of a first-round pick, kind of in that same bubble as Kenneth Murray was. Another first-round pick, went to the Chargers, didn't put it all together. So I thought it was a big risk, an unnecessary risk to try to pay Patrick Queen a bag because he's going to get the biggest bag out of all the linebackers. My number one target was Levante David, but he does seem like a Buccaneer for life. So that kind of lied. So you got Bobby Wagner. How much juice does he have left? Could be a Band-Aid guy. Wouldn't be the end of the world. You got Jerome Baker, who was solid, just kind of overpaid, kind of, just an average. Like maybe you might get like a Kaiser White kind of play at a Jerome Baker. Where I think maybe he has a little bit more Madden name value than he actually has on tape for what I've asked a couple of Dolphin fans. And they just said he was like a solid player, but not worth the contract they gave him. Didn't grow and develop in that contract, but there is familiarity from Vic Fangio. So, it wouldn't be the end of the world getting that Band-Aid as long as we prioritize linebacker in the draft. And I'm saying Peyton Wilson is the guy. As long as the medicals check out, Peyton Wilson, NC State, pick 50, that needs to be the option. I'll take him even over Edgerrin Cooper. The guy we need is Peyton Wilson. And we know Howie Roseman is bullish on Nakobe Dean, even though I think most fans are like, my stance is obviously we have Nakobe Dean, who was great in college at Georgia. He's not proven anything at the NFL level. He's proven that he can't stay healthy, and the undersized concerns have kind of been true. Still, there's a world Nakobe Dean stays healthy, and holy shit. Thank God we had patience. Look at the player. I think that's still there for sure. But that is such a gamble to just assume that that's going to happen for him to be linebacker 1 on the starting sheet or linebacker 2. I think we need to be aggressive. Joe Breaker would make some sense. I mean, Devin White, again, has a lot of name value, but hasn't really been playing good football. Very overhyped. If it's one of those deals where Philly signs him and then everyone's like, how do the Eagles get away with this? We signed him to like a 1 year, $7 million, 1 year, $6 million. Yeah, like maybe he can get reinvented under Vic Fangio, but the fact he didn't look very good in Tampa Bay with Todd Bowles makes me think like maybe just I don't know. I don't know enough. I know a little overrated, but he's a name that's out there. Terrell Dodson, graded up pretty well by PFF, was a role player for the Buffalo Bills. But again, another schematic where like almost every linebacker I think looks pretty damn good with the Bills. It's a great scheme for highlighting linebacker play. It felt like it was, Edmonds was great, Milano was great. They get hurt. Like Dodson and Terrell Bernard come in, they look great. You can get that Klein guy came in late season, like off the street, still look. I just feel like there's something about the Bills and getting good linebacker play regardless is there. It's like maybe there's a little bit buyer beware of Dodson. Get a little bit of that Patriots where like they're good on one team because that team's always good at that one position. Go somewhere else, different scheme, all yada, yada, yada. But Dodson, interesting. I think it wouldn't be the end of the world bringing back Zach Cunningham. He was, just a guy, but honestly, that is an upgrade for our linebackers. When he was out there, it was solid enough. Perriman, sure. Isaiah Simmons, I was talking about my sneaky play was Jeremy Chin, and you move him to hybrid linebacker. He ended up going to the Commanders, which I've been clowning on the Commanders signing so far, but I like that. I thought that was smart business. But if you're going in that way, you got to, hey, another swing. Take an OG like Vic and let him have a swing at trying to develop Isaiah Simmons because there's a player there. There's an elite athlete. And I don't know if you could shut the door and say he's Taylor Mays 2.0. Maybe someone like a Fangio can find the best way to utilize him. But also, you're at the bottom of the barrel. You're at the bottom of the barrel both for corners and linebackers, and those are still two positions I think the Eagles need to get better at. So I guess there is options, but I think right now in the perfect way would be like get Cooper DeJean at 22 because I think he's a perfect fit for Fangio's scheme. And then at 50, you get Peyton Wilson. Corner and linebacker early in the draft. And we're back in the Super Bowl. That is my take. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you still think Philly's going to be in on Justin Simmons? How do you feel about Cjgj returning? I'm sure we'll be back tomorrow. I don't think Philly's done. So we will have a roundup when that happens. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. As always, first time stopping by, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya. Have a good one.